Let's dive deeper. So, says the next Mishnah, אין נותנים כלי תחת הנר לקבל בו את השמן, ונתנו מבעוד יום מותר. So, where's the Gemara? So, the Gemara says later on, right? Tough. I didn't mind the Gemara says earlier. Anyway, the point is, so why can't you put? I'll just say briefly. When we say a candle, what is a candle? Right, it's a kind of it's some kind of cup. I have the oil is inside it, and the oil is dripping. Right, so I want to put something under it, and what can I do with this oil? I can't eat it, right? It's been in the candle already. You can't eat that, right? So what can be used for? For burning. Mimela, so it's fuel, so it's mukta, right? There's nothing else I can do with it, right? It's not a kli and not a ochel, so it's mukta. Why can't I put another vessel to catch my oil? All right, we need to understand why. Similar thing. So if my chicken lays an egg, I'm allowed to put something over it so no one will step on the egg. But if I know the chicken is about to lay an egg, I can't put anything under it to catch the egg. Why not? You guys don't know. Let's read the next part in the Gemara. Rav Yosef Amar, because what is the egg? It's mukta. So the egg is mukta. So now the kli will become mukta as well. Right? Yeah. What? This happens on Shabbos. Interesting, right? It happens on Shabbos. So if I pause,
if it's been as much as it remains, even if the mukta is off, but here the mukta goes off, it becomes a again.
Right. So here, lichora, this is a bit surprising. But what is tough? What is bitul kli meichano? Let's just briefly see Rashi and the Rambam. About that, and we'll continue the Gemara because it's just an interesting concept. You see Rashi at the bottom of the page. Some of the kli meichano lo shiv kli b'makom shelo yuchalu l'tlo misham. Daviki kovelo makom chabur batit v'dami lemelacha. So if I cause something to become muktzah on Shabbos, no one's allowed to carry it now, right? So I've effectively nailed it in place. I've halachically nailed it in place. Right? Are you allowed to nail things on Shabbos?
Or are you directly or indirectly in this example?
That's a good question. We're going to get to that. The Rishonim will mention that point because it's an interesting point. In this case, right, I put the vessel and put it down.
Well, let me ask you.
The chicken laid the egg inside there.
The chicken hadn't laid
So
the
we
egg
know the
yet.
chicken came before the egg.
Chicken
Right?
hadn't laid the egg yet. If there was a vessel underneath the chicken, would you be allowed to take the vessel out?
So l'chora, you would be allowed. Are you allowed to take the vessel out?
Yes.
I thought you were going to ask, are you allowed
Without the egg.
to leave
Not
it
there.
there?
There's no egg.
Why not? What's wrong?
There's nothing wrong.
It's just a cup. It's just a bowl.
It's just a bowl. And when you put it there, it's just a cup and just a bowl.
Right, but then when the
Well, the chicken made it. So
all right. So that's a fair point. We're gonna touch on the Tosfot. We'll mention that point. Right, you put it there.
Some practical questions.
Why?
There are some practical questions that could be.
Like what? For all of us who have chickens in their living room.
No, well, like which came first?
You covered that one already.
Yeah, I think we figured that one out. So
What are the fees?
you see, the Gemara says that the Rambam side. The Rambam says the opposite of Rashi. Because it destroys the kli. כיצד לא ייתן כלי תחת הנר בשבת לקבל את השמן הנוטף, ושהשמן שבנר אסור לתתו, כשיפול הכלי, יעשה לתתו לכלי, שהיה מותר. It destroyed.
We still follow the kli.
Right, but it's not. It's no longer functional. This Shabbos is no longer functional.
But it will be.
It's better, but not this Shabbos.
Yeah.
Over Shabbos, it's not functional, and therefore it's also. So that's just an interesting point about what exactly is this Isur, Bitul Kli Meichano. It's very interesting because until now we've never learned about an Isur to create muktzah, right? Because always you have muktzah, you have to carry it, right? You have a Isur, can you carry it? how do we define muktzah? Although those were all questions until now. This is the first time we have an isur to create muktzah, to cause muktzah, right? That's not meduyak. The one thing we did have was the discussion about yitzirat graf shel ri lechatchila, right? Because there the discussion there was, am I allowed to cause something? What was our translation? Vile, right? Am I allowed to cause something vile and offensive to be around so that I can carry it, right? Offensive? You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, that's what's important, right? You're allowed to carry something that's too yucky. That's the thing. That's the precise translation, right? You're allowed to carry something yucky. Can you cause that yucky thing to be in your vicinity to justify, so that you can justify carrying it on Shabbos, right? So there we said you can't do it because then you justify carrying it. That's a different story. The problem there is that then you're justifying carrying it, and you're allowed to not carry it because of Shabbat. But here it seems an Isur unto itself. Your bowl is now muktzah. That was the Isur, right? Now, this, of course, is going to be, we're going to have to get a better understanding of, hold on. But I thought that you're allowed to, anything that wasn't purposely there when Shabbat began, I'm allowed to knock off, no? Right? Anything that wasn't purposely there when Shabbat began, I'm allowed to slide off on Shabbat, right? I can tilt it over. So why is it destroying the Kli or connecting the Kli? Why can't I roll the egg off?
It's on purpose.
But was that on Knesset? Was that Ben Shmashat?
Well, we know that somebody else can't make something look so for you.
Okay.
What makes me think that the chicken can make it look so?
Right? We have a problem, right? We have a problem. What? Is there basis like, so I go into this in the Harchavot. I'd rather not touch on it. The pashtut is what?
Yeah.
The pashtut is yes, only for muktzah.
And it becomes like the basis.
No, the basis becomes muktzah. You're saying when Klish Natan Yisrael, the pashtut there is no din of basis le Klish Natan Yisrael. That's the simple. So, but now this raises a more interesting question. We had before, we had this. Let's go back to the question of the bed, that piece of furniture, top of page 2. We said there, top of page 2. Right? Second line. What case is this? In what case is the existence of the coins on the bed Aser my carrying on this piece of furniture? Aser carrying the piece of furniture. Sorry?
We had said anything was not specifically designated.
Yeah, if it wasn't specifically designated, correct. Yes, that's the case we're talking about.
That found itself, then we assume.
Wait, but that's the end of the Gemara. It should say the other way around, right? It should say, why does the yesh or en make any difference? Hooray, if it was there, if the money got there on Shabbat, if money got there on by mistake, so I can knock it over, right? That's the case of the cow, right? It's the case of the pillow that has money on it, right? If the money was there, put there on purpose, b'nesh mashot. So l'chora, the only relevant factor is whether it was there purposely b'nesh mashot or not. So the yeshalat mot or inilat mot doesn't seem irrelevant to anything. What case is this? Sorry?
You're assuming that nobody put it there on purpose on Shabbat, you're saying?
So who would put it there on purpose on Shabbat?
3-year-old.
So does 3-year-old have kavana? This goes back to what Glenn pointed out: is can someone create an isur for me? Right? This is an asr my thing.
You could say the last part, the who shall I you allow ben shall explain the previous two.
Right. So I agree that you could say, and then, but to say that, you'd have to understand that would justify my bringing the first part of the Memra. And say that Rav wanted us to memorize. It was a memory trick, which of course we find more confusing, but somehow in Tanaic times, they seem to find this better for the memory. I just find confusing. That it's easier to remember when you have that kind of sing-song. Right. Right. That's so. And then really the second criteria is not so relevant, right? Of course, he doesn't like that. Rishonim, they don't like that stuff. So let's see what Tosfot do with this. See page 3. Let's play with this. Yesh ala'amot asur letaltila al kolchenu b'miniach ayl. Right? B'shachach tznan min el kal v'naflot. Why should I be allowed to knock the money off? Uv'maniach b'shabbat ayri. D'biniach mi bod yom v'ayu alai ben shmashot, afilu ein alai ma'ot asur l'taltila. Kamal b'sefer d'milte. Right? If it was their ben shmashot, it doesn't matter if it's there later on or not, unless it's there by mistake, but then you are allowed to knock it off. So the existence of the money on this item is not really relevant. The question is what happened in Shoshana, what there is now, right? So first of all, you guys think like Tosfot. That's pretty good. Right. Meaning, my kid finds money on Shabbat, says, Abba, what should I do with this? So put it over there. He does it as my shaliach. So I'm causing the disqualification. What does this show? This is akin to what? Why did I bring this Tosfot here? It's very similar to the chicken and the egg. Glenn's question. Did I lay the egg? I didn't lay the egg. So I can't. So how did I disqualify carrying the bowl? The answer is I told the chicken to lay the egg. Well, not in so many words, but right. I put the vessel there clearly to catch the egg. Therefore, I caused that to reach there. So Tosfot, in order to solve that Gemara, uses our Gemara, right? And says when I effectively cause the vessel to catch the Isur, that would be a case of Basil Davar Asur, and it would become Mukta. But the last sentence I said is not Meduyak. Why not? Because it seems Tosfot has 3 different cases, 3 scenarios. So if the money was put there before Shabbat on purpose, so it will become disqualified in Muktzah the whole Shabbat, even the money is taken away later. So, if the money was forgotten there on Shabbat, I can carry the money backhanded and make it and tilt it over and tilt it off. But if I cause the money to get there on Shabbat on purpose, right? If my kid found money and decided to put it there by his own volition on Shabbos, it can be more chamur than what happened ben Shmashot. Right? So then I'd be allowed to knock it off. Right? So the distinction would still be if I cause it to be there ben Shmashot on purpose, it disqualifies it the whole Shabbat. If I cause it to get there on Shabbat on purpose, it disqualifies it only as long as it's there. Meaning, I'm not allowed to shake it off, to shake the money out of my blanket, right? But I am allowed, but if the kid also comes and takes the money from there now, right? Then I could use the blanket. That's the Gemara says. If the money is still there, look in the Gemara. It's the easiest to explain through the Gemara. Go back to the Gemara on Patal page 2. Lo yechadal lema'ot. And what are we talking about? And I tell my kid, or I tell my guy, right, my servant, right, to put money down over there. As long as the money is there, as long as the money is there, I'm not allowed to carry it. I'm not even allowed to tilt it over, to knock it over. If it does get knocked over despite my Easter of intervening, then I'd be allowed to carry it. If which is a different case. So the case of basis hadavar asur would necessitate happening before Shabbat, as Yaakov asked before. Does basis hadavar asur created only ben shmashot? Those would say yes, right? So let's say the whole shot of the Gemara is exactly that. So let's say the whole part of the Gemara is exactly that. Ben shmashot depends on whether it's on purpose or not, but then it would be disqualified the whole Shabbat. During Shabbat also depends on whether it's on purpose or not. If it's not on purpose, I could knock it off. If it is on purpose, I'll knock it off. But it's not basis hadavar asur, it's not muktzah unto itself. So there? That's a Tosfot one. Sorry?
Third one I get, the first one I get. No, okay. There's 3 scenarios.
This is before Shabbat. There are two scenarios before Shabbat. There are two. Think of a Taina. I'm thinking I should have done one.
Before Shabbat and then
Before Shabbat, during Shabbat, by mistake on purpose. Correct.
okay.
So before by mistake, I can always knock it off during Shabbat. So whether it happened before Shabbat or during Shabbat. If it was on purpose, then before Shabbat it becomes muktzah for the entire Shabbat. Happens purpose on Shabbat. I'm not allowed to intervene, but if a kid plays with it, I can do. Then it's free.
I'm just saying, time to find looks on something that creates a problem for me. It was a mistake to have it on before Shabbat.
Got a pat on the
Maybe you didn't think about it, so you wanted to put it in, then.
I tried to think of muktzah things.
Right. The problem is we don't really have muktzah. We're not very good. We're not very good with muktzah. Meaning we don't really have much muktzah around. Like real muktzah, proper muktzah, we don't really have. But money, that's fine. That's why the money is the example I'm using all the time, because that's the only thing.
Potatoes.
Right, but again, where are your potatoes? Come on. No, I think you are right. We're going to get later on. We get to questions of drawers and things like that. Do they become basis hadavar asur? And that would be right. That would be more relevant.
Right. So you have a nightstand. You decide, I have some cash out in my pockets. I throw it into the nightstand.
Right. Exactly. So that would be more that. So the nightstand with the drawers, right? That would be a problem. The drawer that has the potatoes, or whatever, the stand that has a potato. How do you serve potatoes? Right? You have a stand. You have a drawers. So that becomes hadavar asur. Why? You don't need potatoes. Why? We're discovering many interesting things about you guys.
It's decorative sticks and stones.
Yes. Decorative potatoes.
Right,
So.
same thing.
No, make a Mr. Potato. Potato. You make it.
A plan.
A plant is difficult. Let's
Possibly.
could be, yeah.
That's not crazy.
All right. Here and there.
Flowers are not.
No.
Candle, hang on, candles on the table, right? That's actually a thing, right? So,
Right. I put the candles there because I wanted them there. It's nice. It's romantic. You know, Shabbat Malkata. I have to have some romance with my Shabbos, right?
So now that you realize it's a mistake, it wasn't a mistake when they went.
Right. Now it's a bit too late to say it was a mistake that, right? Right. So that table also looks yes.
That's good, right?
But our candles are candles.
You would rate just.
Our candles are
The pashtut is yes. The pashtut is yes.
Candles on a tray in the middle of your dining table, this is the way I
Except
see
one
it.
in
Okay.
so nowadays.
But we need to see the full sugya of, but at the moment, yes, the candle would be muktzah. Candlesticks. No, the candlesticks, no.
Candlesticks
Wait.
The candlesticks after the candles.
No, but they became a basis for the candle.
that is not the list.
No, the candle is not too far.
It's Christian Matthias through the whole way down.
If you have tea lights, the bottom thing, is that a clay? Yeah, it's a clay. It's a clay. All right, that is a clay. You guys are too difficult. No, you're right. It is a clay. Yeah, it's just hard to think of good examples. It's a problem. Like that.
Interesting.
No, because the problem there is that you have muktzah mechamat isul, right?
because the candle itself.
Whoa, what do you make different kinds of books?
How many layers down does the buses go?
That's also a good question.
So
The
something is
the
that,
pashut is
let's say
one.
you put on-
The pashut is one.
you
So we're
put
thinking
on
of
your table two, all right, this may be tacky to some of you, two plastic table covers. You know, it's maybe a real problem. And then you have your candlestick on top of the tray. And at the end of the Shabbat, you want to just slide out the dirty plastic one, so that the clean one is right there. No, I mean, at the end of Friday night,
yeah.
you just want to slide out the other one and say, okay, now I got a clean plastic tablecloth. No, you're not gonna, you're just gonna slide it out.
Right. But the question is, could you carry, right? Would that be able to say the or right? The top.
The top one, no, because it's the candlesticks are on a tray.
Because it's a table.
Ah, beseder.
No, I know he's not, because he said it only goes one deep.
What do I say? What? So now I say something.
The candlesticks are on the table, the candlesticks are on a tray.
One.
They're on a tray.
We had some difficulty with this last time already.
Therefore, you have a
Yeah.
candlestick.
Yeah, you could say.
You put
It wasn't clear. It wasn't clear.
You might be to put the candles on the table also.
Why?
It wasn't
It only
clear.
goes one deep.
The pashtut is that the ner becomes muktzah either because we're talking about something that's really yuck, and then so much so that it would be muktzah, that even we who don't hold muktzah mechamat mius, thanks. Without mius, we would agree. We do hold it in very, very certain extreme cases.
The same amount of cases though.
Right, not our candles at all. No, our nice. The other thing is with the muktzah chatisur, that anything that during Benish Mashot you would not be allowed to carry, you wouldn't be allowed to carry your candlesticks on Shabbos on Benish Mashot because there's a fire in them, and carrying them will cause it to flicker. Right.
Once you could then that's
Yeah, once I'm a Ketzer Benish Mashot, yeah. They'll become Ketzer for the rest of the Shabbos. So we need to see this fun Gemara. The guy gets like a good Hasidic story, right? The person leaves Motzei Shabbos, goes through woods, right? Goes through the forests of Ukraine, right? And gets home as Shabbos begins, right? It's a good Hasidic story. Anyway, so what happens when you get home as Shabbos begins and you have your
story? You go this way and that way.
Yeah. And he ends up bring his whatever it is, right? He has his bull, I don't know, right? He has his donkey with all of his wares, and now you can't really can you unload him on Shabbos, right? He only got home on Shabbos. Can you unload the animal now? So I thought the bigger complication is that it's glass, so you can't just make it all fall down because if we're talking hay, so whatever. So glass.
Why can't you take the place?
Oh, that's the Gemara said in 1 second. So bring some good mattresses and let everything fall on them, right? Because we're talking glass here. Yaakov says, hold on, but why can't you carry these glass? Why can't you carry the glass? So we're talking about something that this is also mius. It's so that's another complication that I'm not going to go into right now. The assumption is that you were within the tchum, otherwise, but it's another complication of the Gemara. Yeah. That's what we do. That's what I come for. I come for that. Yeah. So this was how they used to let blood, right? This was a big medical thing in their days. And it was not something you played with, not something not something any of us would, not hygienic at all, very unhygienic. So it's so much so that it becomes muktzah. So there's nothing you can do with it on Shabbat, and it's too yucky to carry around stuff. You're causing the mattresses to become muktzah. In that case, because the mattresses become muktzah, right?
Sorry, what mattresses?
We said we bring the mattresses under, and then you unload and let the glass fall, right? What glass? This glass that allows you to let blood. Tough. But why are you allowed to make it fall onto the mattress? Onto the mattress, right? The answer is shlife zutre. We're talking about something light enough that I could now knock off of the mattress. Yeah, that's a bit weird, right? Why is it weird? Why is it strange? Because how is that different from the egg? How is the difference between these needles and whatever they are, right? These vials and needles, right? The vials, there you go. Right. The vials and the egg. They're both muktzah. In both cases, I'm causing them to fall onto something that was mutar. And here the Gemara says, oh yeah, just make them fall off of the next one, right? Shlife zutre means they're light enough that if I tilt the mattress, they'll fall on the floor and they'll be fine. Why? As opposed to, if we're talking about something, we're talking about heavy glass things, if I tilt it over, it'll crash and smash, right? Okay, but that's like a practical solution, but how does this work lumdishly? Why is it I'm not allowed to catch the egg, but I am allowed to catch, well, I'm not allowed to catch the oil, I'm not allowed to catch the egg, but I am allowed to catch the glass vials, the vials, right? So,
maybe they let me do that because they're glass and no break. Yeah, it's probably not as big a deal.
why?
I'm theorizing that they let you do it because it's glass and it's expensive and you don't want it to break.
Because of ifsed. Because of ifsed. So, see that I go to Shri. Skip over that I go to Shri because we don't have much time, so I just want to be able to. מותר לתת כלי תחת נר של שעווה, יכול לתת לו לנערו. So if we have wax, the wax can be knocked off with the kli. So even though the wax is muktzah, because wax is just fuel, it's not a kli and not food, right? It's just fuel. You're allowed to knock it off of the kli that will catch it. כמו אבן שעל פי החבית. דהי מונחה בין החביות, מסרקה ואחר כך מנערה. ולא דמי לשמן שאין רוצה לנערו ולהפסידו, ואף יותר כלי. ויצא נמי יקרא למימר שירא לנער פן תישבר. הענר ודאי ינער קודם שלא יאחז אור בכלי. So he says, more extreme than Yaakov says. He says it's all a question of practicality. I put a vessel under the oil. The oil drips into the vessel. Now what am I going to do now? Say, well, there's nothing you do with the oil. Say, okay, I'll tilt it off, just like the barrel, right? Tosot say, wait, you made it fall on purpose, right? You're not allowed because you made it fall on purpose, right? But Haggadah says that's not the issue at all. The issue is simply, what are you going to do with the oil now? If you don't mind the oil just falling out, so why did you bother catching it? You bother catching the oil, you have to put it somewhere. You're not just going to tilt it over and let it fall on the floor, right? So some kli is going to become disqualified. So you're not allowed to do that. The egg, the same thing. I'm worried the egg will break. So I have no choice. I have to leave it in my vessel. But what about the Gemara and what about Shlife Zutre? They won't break, that's all. That's why Shlife Zutre not Rav. It's a halachic definition. Meaning, I'll explain. If I'm not allowed to cause muktzah, that I won't be able to knock off the whole. He understands, the Maharich understands, that the whole Isser Bitul Kli Mechano is causing, he says like this. I'll just add one more sentence. Basis Davar Asur is only created before Shabbat. There's no such thing as Basis Davar Asur that happens on Shabbat. There's no such thing that something is disqualified from carrying because it's holding muktzah on Shabbat. The only situation where something is disqualified from carrying because there's muktzah on it is ben hashmashot. If it happens on Shabbat, you can always tilt it off. Elamai. If you can't technically tilt it off, then you've disqualified the kli. Mimela it's bitul kli mechano. But it's all a technical matter. If there's no technical way of getting rid of the muktzah later, you're not allowed to cause it to become muktzah. So, and therefore with the egg, technically, what am I going to do with the egg now? It will break. The same goes for the oil. The oil, something has to hold the oil. What am I going to do with it? It's going to disqualify something, so I can't just tilt it off.
But you can use muktzah as a buses, right?
I could use muktzah as a basis. I could place things on the muktzah, yes. But it's also the maharich. So I just want to sum up the Tosfot and maharich and finish with that. So Tosfot said the basis, this concept of disqualifying an item that receives muktzah on Shabbat, there is a concept of disqualifying that item. It doesn't happen long term. It's only while the item is there. That's how Tosfot learned the whole sugya of the mitah, right? While the item is there, you can't do anything about it because you caused it to get to there. Right? The kavana disqualifies the ability of shaking it off. If you had kavana before Shabbat, disqualified as muktzah for the entire Shabbat. That's Tosfot. The Maharich disagrees. The Maharich says there's no such thing as disqualifying on Shabbat. It doesn't exist. There's only the technical, practical disqualification. If there's no way of getting rid of the muktzah afterwards, you're not allowed to make it happen. Otherwise, you can make it fall off. My bad. So, because Bitul Kli Mechana only occurs. Because Basil Davar Asur only occurs before Shabbat. So anything on Shabbat you can knock over, just like if you forgot it before Shabbat. Sorry?
So you're allowed to put the Kli under the
What's in the Kli?
Yes, except you can't do anything with the egg afterwards.
Why if you just tilt it off there?
Right. So the
Yeah,
problem,
so-
I agree. The problem, the Maharich, is that on the practical level, the Gemara should have been more explicit and said, because you can't do anything with the egg, because if you do have a solution for the egg, that should be allowed, right?
There's no issue with the Kli.
So
It's only the egg.
Well, why?
Like, it's just about.
No, the problem is there's no way of returning the Kli into use. It's like the Rambam's, I destroyed the Kli. How you destroy the Kli? By disqualifying it from use. Tosfot say because halachically disqualified from use, and the Maharich says because practically you can't get rid of the muktzah now.
Okay, so still a question. So if there's